memes this time. I need to reflect on Worlds. So this is going to be me reflecting on Worlds as a commentator, so it's, you know, might be different from when you're watching deck profiles or watching the players reflect on it. But for me as a commentator, this year had its ups and downs, you know, compared to last year. Last year also had its ups and downs. I'm gonna go over some positives. I'm sure there's more, but I don't focus on, I focus on positives to some extent, you know, there's things we did well here and there, but I think it's always better to focus on the negatives to use as, you know, something to improve on and something to grow on. And for me, that's the most important thing as a commentator, you know, for me it's continuous growth and getting better, delivering a better experience for the viewers at home. And that's something I don't think I did well enough this year, and so that's why I want to make this video reflecting on it. So, I don't know if you find this kind of thing interesting, maybe aspiring commentators do, maybe, you know, if you just like watching my videos you do, but, you know, you can stick with me and we'll go over it together. First, I'll start with a few positives that I have. The production quality in general of the entire live stream and the entire event was much better, I think, because I think the general presentation of the stream, the quality felt better. There was a lot more communication between the Japanese side and the English side this time. Last year there was next to none. I hope I don't get flamed for saying that by Bushiroad themselves, but like I have to admit, like last year we were being led by the Singaporean team, which is, you know, there's nothing bad about that, but it felt very much like we were two separate like sides of the venue and there was no communication, whereas this year we were talking a lot in between. It was nice to like talk to people, meet new people, and just in general just exchange words with the Japanese staff as well. And so that felt nice, and I felt like because of their contribution, the general production quality was better, and so I liked that quite a lot. Car Protagonist as a commentary partner was great, honestly, he did very amazing, I've said this before. Now, you know, he made a video talking, I didn't know this by the way at the time, I only saw it in his video that he posted about the whole Buddy Mart thing. So I didn't know that he was going through all that. Like, something did feel like it was slightly off because I've met him before the previous year, and so I didn't know that he had that whole thing going on. So, you know, I think that explains if he felt like he was looking down or something was up. I think that's most likely why. You know, I didn't talk to him about that because, you know, he only talked about it now in public, what, the day before I recorded this, so it's, you know, I don't know when this is going up, but, you know, that's something to think about. But he did really amazing despite that. Like, some people said he didn't commentate as much, but honestly, whenever he said something, it was important. Whenever he said something, it was something I could bounce off of, and he bounced off of me, and we just kept going on and on and on. So I think he deserves a lot of credit for just giving a really good commentary experience as well. You know, I tried my best. I'll go over the negatives later, but, you know, I think he did very well, and I hope that he comes back next year, because I think both of us as a team of commentators also, like, there is growth for both of us, but I think that we work well as a duo of commentators. So, you know, I don't know if I'm being invited again. You know, that's this whole video is like, I'm gonna go over a lot of stuff that I would want to do next year to improve, but if I'm not invited, to that person who is invited, if you're invited, please watch this and take it as my like kind of feedback on what should be done, on feedback or on what should happen next year. So if I'm not doing it, then I hope that whoever is doing it watches this to kind of have some pointers on where to improve and what should be done to deliver a really good experience. So, because I don't know, like, we don't find out these things until pretty late. So, and even when we find out, we're not allowed to speak about it until, you know, the event like actually happens. So, you know, I'll see if I get invited again. I don't know if they're happy with my performance this year or not, but we'll see. But so I think, yeah, that's kind of the three positives I have. It's actually not much compared to everything else that I have written down. But I'll go over the negatives now. Like, not negatives, let's say points for improvement. Let's phrase it positively. So, points for improvement. I feel like I know my card database pretty well, but there were times when I forgot small tidbits. Like, Vivian only works from hand. You know, there are so many times when I'd be like, oh, he can top deck the Vivian and like go off of it, but it's like, really, no, he needs to call it from hand with like an Azel skill or something, and in Premium that's not really where it goes off as much, and that's something I should have mentioned. Like, that's something I keep forgetting. There was some other stuff like the Mega Colony cards. I wasn't like expecting Mega Colony to show up on stream, especially not twice, and so there was times when I would forget cards. I think that comes back to a positive. I think like I control the emotion during the stream games okay. Like, I let the emotion get to me, so that I was like, I thought it was more entertaining. I don't know how you guys felt about it or not. Like, I want to hear your comments too, because, you know, I've seen the stream comments, but that's not like the best avenue for me to know where to improve on. So, you know, that's what I want to hear from you guys too. But anyway, so I feel like that's small stuff, like forgetting effects or some names and stuff like that. It's stuff that, like, it just happens, you know. I'm trying to always know as much as possible, but it will kind of just like disappear from my mind, you know, every now and again, so it just happens, I think. So that's something. But I think my personal biggest issue is actually my practice routine. So for me, when I'm doing commentary as like videos, as like practice, I commentate games. I might commentate a best of 3, but it's still a game, that's a round. But I focus a lot on that. I focus a lot on like delivering a good commentary experience in terms of the actual game. And the thing is that because I focus so much on that, I didn't focus enough on what do I do to make the off-stream experience better. I didn't think about, oh, what should we talk about when the game is over? What should we talk about leading into the game? What should we talk about after the game ends? You know, all these things that, like, I should have worked on. And thing is, like, I watch a lot of other TCGs, like a lot of other TCG coverage. Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh! Like, I'll even check out Magic sometimes, like Shadowverse, Hearthstone. I'll check them out sometimes not because I care about the game so much, obviously about some of them I do, but I won't be watching them so much for the games. I'll be watching them to see what are the commentators doing. What did the production staff do to prepare for the event, so that when the games are over, they can fill 20-30 minutes of talking time by just like post-game analysis, pre-game analysis, like talking about the players, talking about the decks, talking about the meta, talking about the game itself, how is the game played, talking about themselves as individuals, all these things that I don't know why I didn't think about it enough. I think it's because me and Sasha last year, so Sasha / Funfragger / Purple Shirt Guy, those of you that watched Worlds last year obviously know him, but last year I prepared things. So I'm trying not to like go away from my bullet points too much, so that I don't forget things. But so I think my biggest issue is that I focused so much on the games themselves that I didn't focus on the day. You know, I need to focus more on the day to make the day run smoother rather than the games run smoother. And now when I'm watching TCG streams, like there was the Oceania Internationals in Pokemon TCG, I think like 1 or 2 weeks ago, and I was watching that. And the games, like obviously I care about Pokemon too, but I think the meta's kind of unhealthy at the moment. Don't roast me for that, but I don't think Pika ROM meta is very healthy. But anyway, so I was watching that, but I wasn't watching it so much for the games. I was watching what are they doing when the games aren't played. And I realized there's so many things that can be done. I was like, why am I not doing these things as a commentator? I should be doing them and like suggesting to Bushiroad. Like I don't like pushing myself too much because I don't want to overstep my boundaries. But for next year, I'm just going to send Bushiroad things I'm planning on. I'm just going to send them things I'm working on. Like I'll make slides for the actual stream on like meta decks or like important cards, like big players, big names, like things that we can talk about and spend a few minutes on. You know, I've suggested to them before that there should be video interviews of like the champions, of famous players, of big figures in the game, you know, whether it's like YouTubers or players or whatever. They should be interviewed even this year, and then we can play it next year during the off-stream period, so it's not just an endless ad loop. That was the biggest issue. People complain about the ad loop, and I feel like I could have done more to shorten it, to make it a bit smaller, you know, and things like that. So yeah, that's the biggest problem. I need to work on the off-stream period. I wish I could get more practice of that, because I can't, because Bushiroad games aren't live streamed much outside of ARG, and ARG doesn't do live stream commentary. You know, the PPG circuit does, but PPG circuit doesn't have a live stream for Vanguard as far as I know, and that's kind of annoying because, you know, that would give me practice if they ever did it in Europe, for example, you know, but it's a bit of a difficult situation, so I'm not sure how I should practice it. You know, maybe I should like ask for online tournaments if I can try to commentate an entire day of an online tournament. I don't know, but that's the thing I need to work on the most, and right now I'm working on it by watching other streams. Like, literally right now, in the background of this video, I'm running YCS Düsseldorf. I mean, I'm super invested into Yu-Gi-Oh! Right now. Not super, but like, I'm really into it right now, but I'm watching it to also see how the live stream is happening. How are they handling the off-game period? And that's really important to me right now. So that's what I'm trying to work on as much as possible, without losing the integrity of the in-game analysis too. You know, I want to keep doing that well, but I think I'm at a level where I can still do it consistently without like focusing on it too much. You know, that's what I feel. So what else? Yeah, like I said, plenty of things I could have done to shorten the ad loop. Post-game discussion being longer, pre-game discussions being longer. Like last year I researched every single qualified player, but this year I assumed Bushiroad would do it because they sent out emails asking for every player's achievement. So I was like, oh, we'll get a form which has all the achievements, I can go over that in the stream, like throughout the day. But we didn't get that, and then I was like, damn, I should have done that myself in the end. And so now I'm legit compiling a list of every single player's throughout the history of the game, all of their achievements, and I'll just send it to Bushiroad because like I think that needs to be stored in their database and updated regularly so that we have that kind of thing for live streams, because it's super important. And it just, that's how you develop more of like a competitive player base. Like, these players need to be known. That's my mission. I want the players on stage to be known for their names, for their stories, for them, their legacies as Vanguard players, not for the deck they're playing. I want people to remember Colin Lai, not to remember, oh, that Mega Colony guy that won Worlds. You know, people remember Daniel Herrera as, you know, Daniel Herrera, not as like that Blaster guy that won Worlds. You know, I want people to remember names, figures. These are people that need to be remembered. Every other card game can do this fine. We should be able to do it too. And, you know, it rests on my shoulders as well to be able to do that when I'm commentating. I need to be bringing out these players. And so the fact that I didn't have time to prepare the entire list of players, that was my own shortcoming, and I should have done that and not just assume that it would be done. So that was my own big issue. That was a big problem. I was really angry at myself for not doing it. And so I think that slightly connects to my my next point actually, is that one big difference last year is that I worked with a Bushiroad staff directly, you know, with Funfragger, with Sasha, Purple Shirt Guy. He was part of the planning process. I was not at any point, not this year, not last year, but because he was part of the planning process, he could say things like, oh, we should do post-game interviews. That's a huge thing. I love doing post-game interviews because people can meme around. And I can see why they didn't want to do that, because last year, you know, there was a wise guy that swore during the finals interview, which they still did the interviews on stage, and he was swearing on stage, which is like, you can't stop that. If you want to do any kind of interview, if you want to interview them on stage, you have to tell them beforehand, like, no swearing, no profanity, nothing. But you can tell them that when they're coming onto the table for post-game interview as well. I know the Buddy Fight champion from last year also said the meta is shit. And, you know, fair point, the meta was bad. You know, and, like, obviously you could have said the meta is bad instead of saying shit. But, again, that's not something we would have controlled. That could have been prevented to some extent if you just tell the players, okay, no profanity when you're on stream, which is pretty easy to follow, I think. So that we could have done post-game interviews this year too, but we didn't because, you know, one chair just disappeared from the table as soon as the intro was done. But that was also my responsibility. I should have told them, please invite the player immediately on stage so that we can interview them after the game. Like, that's so important. And that was my own shortcoming. Again, I should have just said that. I don't know why I kept it in. Like, it's my own fault, and I need to be more just direct about this. Everything in my life I need to be more direct about, really. But so that's one thing that's really important. Like, last year we had this because Sasha was part of the planning process. You could tell this to them before we started. And so, like, when we opened packs of the sneak peek kit, that was also, you know, I think that was his contribution. And so I wish that if I'm invited for next year, or to whoever that is invited next year, maybe try to push a little bit and ask if you can be part of the planning process, because I think it would make the experience much better. I think, like, it's nice that, like, they do these things themselves, but in the end, it's, if you want the best streaming experience, it's good to have these inputs too, I think. That's just my opinion. You know, I hope I don't get blacklisted by Bushiroad for saying these things. But yeah, okay, let's see what else I have in here. Yeah, I guess this could have been a positive. Towards the end, I was like pushing the off game time a bit further and talking a bit more, lowering the ad break a little bit more, and just making it a bit more cohesive. But again, that was towards the end. Should have been a lot more. We could have spoken more about, like, the meta, the formats of each game, our experiences. I kind of brought that up during the stream, discussing the players, talking about the event more. Like, some people even suggested that me and Cardfight should have spoken about ourselves, like who we are and stuff like that, instead of just like the short self-introduction at the start, which is fair point. Like, maybe it is worth to do that. I don't see a lot of commentators doing that, but I think, like, not so much as like, oh, hi, I'm this dude that does this and that. We should have asked each other. It's like, oh, you know, Cardfight, what, like, where can people find you? Like, who are you really? Like, what do you do for the community and, like, stuff like that? So I think it's easy to, like, phrase it in a more of like a less of a, like, standoff, like, show off way. So we probably should have done that too. Then this kind of comes back to me taking things for granted. Last year we would get deck lists of both players for every single game, and that was amazing because we could use that off-game period to go like, ooh, there's an interesting card in this list, like, oh man, there's like some really interesting like decisions in the deck list, and that was super cool because we could go over that. And if we forgot a card name, we could look at the list and quickly go like, oh yeah, that's that card, you know, and that made it less awkward here and there, and like, that was super good. But this year I was like, oh, do we still get deck lists? And they were like, no, we didn't prepare that. And I was like, again, I should have said that before. I should have literally said that the day before. I saw the Bushi stuff the day before, and I could have taken that initiative, but I didn't. And so that's why I'm making this, because at least next year I can rewatch this and remember all these things if I forget them, you know, and all that stuff. But yeah, like, that was a pretty big negative too, in my opinion. And then like I think the last point that I make here is that, like, again, it's to do with the ad loop, but next year I have a thumbnail maker, and I'm gonna ask her, and I'm just gonna send them to Bushiroad and pray that they use them, which is like basically make slides that we can put on the live stream of like breaking down the meta decks, of like, for example, just have like 3 like big decks, big important decks, or like 6 even, you know, just like to talk about. And when we're not talking about them, we can even put them on the, like, you know, instead of the ad loop, just put that on instead, so people can look at like, ooh, so that's what the meta looks like right now, you know. Players that haven't played for like 6 months, they can look at it and go like, ah, so that's how the meta changed, you know, and that stuff like that. Or like big figures, important players, stuff like that. Those kind of slides can be made pretty easily, and they just need to be put on the live stream every now and again, and like they can be used more than once, you know. Players, like, people tune into the stream on and off, like here and there, like they don't always watch it from start to finish, you know. Some people do, but a lot of people don't, and so that's why we can do it more than once, you know. It's worth to do more than once, just like bring it back, talk about it again, and use that time wisely. So yeah, it's a lot of things to improve on. There's a lot of things to do better. I think last year we did things pretty well, because Sasha was just a really good person leading the thing, and I didn't assume a leader role this year because I didn't really know the streamer, like the commentator lineup until the very, very start either, and so I think, I don't know, I want to have a bigger say in this, if I may, you know. I want to push these ideas, like everything I went over this video, I want to like forward this to Bushiroad as soon as it's up, and just say, hi, like, these are my thoughts, these are things for improvement, things we should consider to make the experience better for people at home, because live streams are a very important part, you know. Without good coverage, you can't grow. Like, good coverage expands the growth of a community so much. Like, how many people tune into Magic GPs just to see what it looks like? How many people, like, I've been on and off with Pokemon TCG for years, but even when I didn't play for like 3 years in a row, I would always make sure to tune into World Finals because it's presented so well. Like, I don't play the game, but I love watching it, and so many people might grow to love watching Vanguard without even playing it, but it's good because then they'll send it to their friends, they'll like do like watch parties with their friends and all that stuff. Like, it's just so essential for the growth of a game to make personalities, to give people motivation to play competitively because they can grow their name as a player. And right now, people don't see that in Vanguard enough right now, and that's what the live stream is for. You know, obviously we could go even further, and I could say, like, there needs to be like at least one stream of a BCS regional every single year from one location. One from NA, like pick California, it's always the biggest, or New York, they're always one of the biggest. For EU, like pick UK, it's always the biggest. UK is always the biggest for EU, you know. Or like for Asia, pick Singapore. They did Singapore once, and that was amazing. I was amazed that they did that, and we need more of that. Like, just invite people to do this. Just like, it doesn't have to be me either as a commentator. Like, there's plenty of people interested in this role. There's a lot of people that, like, they don't speak up about it because they assume that they won't get it, but I know people are interested in commentating, so give them a chance too. Like, the growth of the game in a competitive form needs to grow, in my opinion, and that's just what this whole video is about. And that's like the things I described and what we can input into the stream is just ways that we can grow it. So that's it for me today. That's all. Honestly, this was a lot that I had to get off my chest. I hope that I don't get blacklisted by Bushiroad and banned from future events for saying these things, but that's how I think the events should improve. That's how I think live streams should improve, whether it's Worlds. If you're watching this and you're commentating next year, you know, and sitting in that position, I hope you learn something from this. I hope you see what should be done to deliver a better experience. But whether it's me or somebody else, I think these are things that need to be implicated. So that's it for me today. This was a lot more of like a PSA feel video than just like my regular video. But yeah, no memes, serious talk only. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. So thank you so much for watching and bearing with me. And for those of you that watched the stream, thank you so much. For those of you that gave feedback and criticism, thank you so much, because it helps me grow a lot. And some of these points, they come from that criticism, and it's really, really essential. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. So that's it for me today. Check out things in the description, hit those bell buttons, etc. But I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.